us what we're doing tonight.
This is the end of 2 years of what I thought would be a lot easier than it was. It's, we first met up just about 2.5 years ago and took the first photos, the before photos, because I'd already made the decision after 2 deaths in the family for breast cancer that the boobs were going. I was going to get rid of them. And I made the decision like, that is really easy. And I thought, okay, I can do this. I'm that kind of person. Here we are 2 years later, and I can't believe the mountains that it's taken to go across to get to here. But we're back. We're back.
What happened since the last time we met?
There's 2 rounds of surgery, because they do the reconstruction, which is a process that takes, almost a year after the original one.
The initial surgery.
The initial surgery, you get to choose. It's like this buffet of choices, and it's really overwhelming, and you kind of have to decide, and you don't really know anything going in, and you trust your surgeons because you have to, but surgeons aren't psychologists, so you really have to make a choice based on your body, not your mind, but your mind has to deal with what's going to happen to your body, so it becomes this kind of thing where it's almost a crapshoot. So I chose to have the breast removed and do reconstruction, and they put in expanders, which they do at the same time. And so I was never actually flat. I thought I would be. I wasn't sure how I was going to adjust to, my job is on camera, some of it, and I thought, okay, am I going to have breasts? Am I not going to do this? So they put expanders in, which were small, and it's fine. And then you go through a process where they expand every couple weeks till you hit what you want to do, and it takes 6 months after that. So you're a full year almost. Was I a full year? More than a year, about 8 months in, and then they do a second surgery, take out the expanders, and put in the final implants that you live with. And then you wait another 6 months, and I opted to have nipples tattooed on, which is really, really cool. There's, again, lots of choices. You don't know what is going to be the best one to live with. You can have nothing. You can just have the scars. You can choose not to reconstruct. You can just leave it plain, which is totally fine too. So you have to make all these decisions all the way along. And even though you have people helping you, ultimately you're the one who has to live with it. And that's the hard part, because everyone has an opinion, which is valuable, but ultimately you're the one who's got to keep going through it.
Tell me about your mother.
Mom was diagnosed when I was 32. It was just when my dad died. She was diagnosed with breast cancer. And what they do is if you live 5 years, they call you a survivor. Well, she died like 5 years and a month later. So in my book, breast cancer killed my mother, even though statistically you would look and say it didn't, but it did. It came back. It came roaring back. And we started, I've got sisters, and we all started getting mammograms and going through all of this at that time. And my kids were really young. They were like 2 and 5. They were tiny. And you don't think about it on you. It was my mom. And then she goes, and it's like shark's teeth. The next row moves up, and all of a sudden I'm looking at my sisters going, this is on us now. It's not looking at my aunts and stuff like that. And then my oldest sister, who I wasn't close with, except genetically apparently, she was diagnosed and she was only 52, and she died within a couple years. And that's when I realized in my family, it's aggressive, it's coming for us. And we were in high-risk programs, we were being checked, MRIs, everything else, which was good. The medical stuff here in Canada is excellent, they're on it, they're really good. You still have to live with the choices that you make and with the advice that you get. You have to make a call. And I knew I was 50, it's like, I'm not living with a gun to my head every year waiting to hear you're okay, and then finally waiting to hear you're not, and then going through treatment, and then dying. And in my family, that's what it looked like to me. So I went, yeah, I can't afford it. I'm a freelancer. I can afford to be dead. I can't afford to be sick.
As a single mother, talk about courage.
You know, people put it in those terms of courage and bravery. I'm scared to death of cancer, so I saw it as fear. I didn't think I was acting out of any kind of bravery. I saw it as acting out of fear. And I look at my kids and I think, oh, they're not done yet. Like, they're 24 and 21 now, but they're both, well, I think they're spoiled. They don't think they're spoiled. They're not ready to be without me yet. And I've been a caretaker most of my life. I took care of my parents. I was a really good daughter, and I had to stop being a daughter when they died. I'm not a great mom. I was an okay mom, but they're not done yet. So I think, oh, I can't go yet because, there's still stuff I have to do. Someone has to yell at them about things. So it was more being scared of being sick and not being able to do the stuff I needed to do. And I'm not scared of dying. Like it's not a fear of death. It's a fear of being incapacitated.
Carl, can you just, she's got one hair just cutting down across her nose. See it? Yeah, thank you. Beautiful, thanks. What do women need to know about your story?
I think that for some reason we still don't want to talk about breasts, as there's still this kind of, not a stigma. You see pink ribbons everywhere. I don't buy into all that because a pink ribbon doesn't make me feel any better, and it doesn't really signify a great deal to me. What tells me a lot is sitting beside a woman in a waiting room who is either going through something I've been through, is thinking about it, or who already has, and talking to them, hearing their stories and talking to them. And that means more to me than a whole bunch, and it sounds really ungenerous to say that, except women will sit there and we can talk, and I can say, it's gonna feel like they ran a lawnmower over your chest, except the next day it feels like this, and then it feels like this. And talk to your surgeon and ask them this and ask them this. And knowing the right questions will get you the right answers, but a lot of times we don't know what the questions are. And understanding the medical profession is, the surgery itself is not complicated. It's a couple hours, and rightfully so. Surgeons look at it and go, it's really not that big a deal, because technically it isn't. It's the emotional side of it that'll catch up to you just like a wave and take you over. So talking to a woman who can say, yeah, this is what it meant to me. I've had this discussion with women who are married and ones who aren't married, because I was not married. And both of us think the other side has it easier, which seems a little bit crazy, except I'm going, you've got someone who will go through this with you no matter what. And I went through it alone. And they're going, yeah, but you don't have to share all that stuff with someone who might reject you because of this. So there's this huge fear of what's this other person gonna think? And I didn't have this specific other person to worry about. So they think I'm lucky for that. I think they're lucky because they have an extra, set of shoulders. Like they have someone who can carry the ball for them while they're going through it. So it's interesting, the stuff that women internalize over this whole idea about whether you have breasts, whether you don't have breasts. Mostly, I didn't want my breasts to kill me. And that's what it came down to, is I get to live. And I'm one of the luckiest women in the world in one of the best countries in the world because of that.
Tell me about the cosmetic tattoos.
Okay, that's cool. The tattoos, there's a woman in Peterborough, Kyla Gooch, who she's famous around the world. There's very few tattoo artists that do this specific tattooing. It's not like going to a tattoo parlor and choosing which Chinese symbols are gonna say the wrong thing for you. She just does medical tattooing, which means she also does children who have been burned. She'll camouflage the burn scars. You can't tell. Like she has a PhD in medical illustration. She is outrageously good, but she has specialized in doing nipples for women who have had reconstructive surgery, and she's got a way about her. She just puts you at ease. She's an artist first and foremost. She is spectacular. And I had a year with just the scars, and you think, okay, you get to live. You can't complain. You don't get to complain. And it's true, you don't. I'm so happy I'm alive. I also didn't look at my body for a year in the mirror. I would just glance past and not do it. I went to her the first time. You go twice. And when she goes, turn me to the mirror, like it takes her a long time, 4 hours for the first thing, turns me around, and I just started crying. I just started crying, and I couldn't believe how important it was. It was trying to prove a negative at first, like why would I care? And I cared once I had that back. And you would think, it's just a picture of a nipple, like that's what you think, but it's not. And it's 3D on the outside, but it's 3D on the inside too. Like she just gives that back to you. And you have to talk your way around feeling that it's a vanity project or that it's not necessary or you don't care. But for some of us, yeah, it matters. It matters, and I didn't realize how much it mattered until she turned me around in the mirror the first time.